Hello, my name is Tzvi Breivik, Chairperson of the Cape South African Jewish Board of Deputies, and thank you for joining us in our series of Cape Town Remembers the Holocaust. I will start by naming just some of the names of the children who were murdered during the Holocaust and whom we remember today. Yachid Barach Magyar, Yosef Pinkas Magyar, Blumatsana Majanowski, David Shmuel Machelis, Golda Maltz, Salomon Maltzner, Estra Makalovitz, Estusia Mittelman, Herschel Muflaz, Jonas Naiman, Malka Nalekwa, Chil Berik Nalekwa, Chaya Neufeld, Isaac Neufeld, Chava Nürnberger, Rochem Obstveld, Majoras Estera Piasach, Cheva Piatzak, Hinda Sarah Wolf Pergenicht, Joachim Pinkus, Alta Asia Maja Potash, Israel Rosen, Abraham Rosenblum, Sarah Rosen, Mordechai Rosenek, Abraham David Rudeleur, Freda Ripka, Brocha Risky. Memory plays a large part in keeping the Jewish community a cohesive community throughout the centuries. At Pesach, we remember the Exodus. At Tisha B'Av, we remember the destruction of the temple. And now we are remembering the Holocaust. As it says in the Tanakh in Book of Joel 1:3, tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children, and their children, another generation. And so it is that we are telling our children, and this evening we shall listen to our children, telling us what Yom Hashoah means to them. The Cape Town Torah High School is located in the Ponovitz Shul, established by people who had come from the town in Lithuania in 1923. 36% of the inhabitants were Jewish, and it had a major Haredi yeshiva. Nearly all the Jews in Ponovitz were killed by the Nazis, the majority by the Einheitskommando in 1941, assisted by the local Lithuanians. The rest were murdered in 1943. Their heritage is retained in the name of the shul and in the students who pray and study in the building. We now hear from Amber Lee Bobro, grade 9, Rika Weinberg and Musia Darren of grade 11 of Torah High School, and they will explain what the Holocaust means to them.
Remembering the Holocaust means honoring every person that gave up their life to be a Jew and learning from that to be proud of our heritage.
Remembering the Holocaust means remembering what our grandparents had to go through and learning from that to value every human life.
Remembering the Holocaust means keeping the memory alive so that future generations should know and never let it happen again. Standing in silence on Yom Hashoah means showing people what hate can do, what words can do, and what judgment can do.
My name is Heather Blumenthal and I'm the Executive Director of the Cape Town Holocaust and Genocide Centre. The centre was established in 1999 as a centre to memorialise and commemorate the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust. But we also use it as a centre of education, and that for us is very important, as many young people feel that why should we learn about the Holocaust? It happened 76 years ago on a different continent and it has no relevance to us. However, it's very important because not only did 6 million people of our own community perish, but of that 1.5 million were children. Children who did not reach the age of where they could get married, where they could have families, and they could live their lives as we know it here within South Africa. Education is important because through the Holocaust, we can use it as a lens to look at all of the challenges that we have within South Africa at the moment. Things like prejudice, intolerance, xenophobia, all the isms that come along with it. I think that if children and the youth are able to look at the Holocaust, to understand what happened, it enables them to make a difference within their lives as they find it as young people and as they become adults. Because of the 1.5 million children who perished in the Holocaust, we have a twinning project for those who are bar bat mitzvah age, who will be able to twin with a child who perished in the Holocaust so that we can commemorate their memory. We also have a number of survivors who fortunately are still with us today, and therefore it becomes important that we as young people are able to continue keeping the flame alive of what happened during the Holocaust, and also to ensure that something like this never happens again.
The next section of Yom Hashoah, Through the Eyes of Our Youth, will focus on a variety of elements from the United Herzliya schools. The learners from the Herzliya Junior High Student Leadership Council have recorded 2 poems to reflect the importance of memory of Yom Hashoah through creative works. This will be followed by the Director of Education, Jeff Cohen, explaining the importance of educating the Holocaust to our youth. The Student Leadership Council will then share with our community what the Holocaust means to them.
The Herzliya Junior High School Council have chosen to recite The Butterfly, a poem written by the Jewish children in Theresienstadt. As a youth, it is our obligation to never forget.
The last, the very last, so richly, brightly, dazzlingly yellow.
Perhaps, if the sun's tears would sing against a white stone.
Such a yellow,
is carried lightly way up high.
It went away, I'm sure, because it wished to kiss the world goodbye.
For 7 weeks, I've lived here.
Penned up inside this ghetto.
But I found my people here.
The dandelions call to me, and the white chestnut candles in the court.
Only I never saw another butterfly.
That butterfly was the last one.
Butterflies don't live in here, in the ghetto.
We are the deputy heads of Herzliya High School. My name is Rachel Wallman.
I'm John T. Skolby.
My name is Shalia Samakowski. The following poem, The Action in the Ghetto of Roatan, March 1942, is by Alexander Kimmel, a Holocaust survivor. Yom Hashoah is Holocaust Remembrance Day. But we remember the atrocities of the Holocaust, not because we want to, but because we have to, so that it never happens again.
Do I want to remember the peaceful ghetto before the raid? Children shaking like leaves in the wind. Mothers searching for a piece of bread. Shadows on swollen legs moving with fear. No, I don't want to remember, but how can I forget?
Do I want to remember the creation of hell? The shouts of the raiders enjoying the hunt, cries of the wounded begging for life, faces of mothers carved with pain, hiding children dripping with fear. No, I don't want to remember, but how can I forget?
Do I want to remember my fearful return? Families vanished in the midst of the day. The mass graves steaming with vapor of blood. Mothers searching for children in vain. The pain of the ghetto cuts like a knife. No, I don't want to remember, but how can I forget?
Do I want to remember the wailing of the night? The doors kicked ajar, ripped feathers floating the air. The night scented with snow-melting blood. While the compassionate moon is showing the way for the faceless shadows searching for kin. No, I don't want to remember, but I cannot forget.
Do I want to remember this world upside down, where the departed are blessed with an instant death, while the living condemned to a short, wretched life, and a long, torturous journey into unnamed place, converting living souls into ashes and gas? No, I have to remember and never let you forget.
My name is Jeff Cohen, and I'm the Director of Education at Herzliya School. I came across a letter written by a principal to his teachers at the start of a particular year. And I think it's important to read it so that we can get a true understanding of why we teach the Holocaust to our pupils. Dear teacher, I am the survivor of a concentration camp. My eyes saw what no man should witness. Gas chambers built by learned engineers. Children poisoned by educated physicians. Infants killed by trained nurses. Women and babies shot and burned by high school and college graduates. So I am suspicious of education. My request is, help your students become human. Your efforts must never produce learned monsters, skilled psychopaths, educated Eichmanns. Reading, writing, and arithmetic are important only if they serve to make our children more humane. At Herzliya, a key pillar of our school is Menschlichkeit. It is so important that our pupils grow up and will go out into the world, into the global society, as dignified young individuals, making their mark on society in a Menschlich way.
I am Benjamin Zar, the head student of Herzliya High School. Never again. These are the words that my Saba and Safta instill on me every year on Yom Hashoah. I'm reminded every year to never forget the hardships and genocide that our people had to endure little over 80 years ago. Often retold this saying without truly understanding the magnitude of what the Holocaust was. As young Jews living in the 21st century, we are often bombarded with ideas of what the Holocaust was and how it is our responsibility to carry on the message of what truly happened. Unfortunately, amongst this effort to encourage education and awareness comes this fear of amalgamation of information that can shift people's views, resulting in some form of normalization. This normalization deters the weight of what the Holocaust truly means to us as a people. Our biggest fear as the Jewish community can turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. We as Herzliyans, however, pride ourselves in never deterring the true reality of what saying never again really means. We are a school of innovators, free thinkers, and above all, students who are proud of being Jewish. Theodor Herzl, a man who died years before the Holocaust, dreamed of a land where Jews could be promised self-determination. We, as Herzliyans, are that manifestation of his dream. I believe we should take this opportunity of sadness and despair and turn it into a story of survival and resilience. We are still here. We will never die. If a Jewish school on the southern tip of Africa doesn't prove this, I don't know what does. We will never forget. Thank you.
I'm Aaron Ari, head of the JLL portfolio. The Shoah is as relevant and means as much to me today as it meant to the Jewish people and all of humanity immediately after the liberation of the concentration camps almost 75 years ago. My great-grandparents' family from Rhodes Island were entirely wiped out en route or at Auschwitz, along with many other families. Lador vador, from generation to generation. It is our responsibility to keep the flame burning and remember, honor, and pay tribute to the 6 million innocent souls who perished in the Shoah. With our precious survivors and diminishing in number worldwide, it is our privilege and responsibility to remember and honor the suffering and the cruelty endured, the inhumane conditions and the attempt of entire annihilation, for no reason other than them being Jewish. I am proudly Jewish and proudly carry forward their legacy and their greatness and their beliefs. We all today stand on the shoulders of giants.
My name is Daniel Marsden and I am the head of the Zionism portfolio. It is without question that remembering the Holocaust as a form of moral obligation is one of the undisputed acts of a Jew. But I often ask myself, what is our duty as Jewish youth, especially those of us living in the diaspora? We are often told that the responsibility of remembering the atrocities of the Holocaust will fall on our shoulders. However, our responsibilities as Jewish youth can't just solely be to remember. In 2019, I had the privilege of visiting the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington with youth from all around the world, most of whom were not Jewish and many had not heard about the Holocaust before. I was deeply shocked by this and saw it as my obligation to teach them. It was through this experience that I realized what the true purpose of remembering is. Remembering is about teaching. The reason that the teachings of the Torah still exist today is through the lessons passed down from a parent to a child, from a teacher to a student. In order for us as Jewish youth to truly remember those who we lost during the Holocaust, we cannot only keep them in here, but must also continue to tell their stories to the rest of the world so their neshamas can live on forever through those to come.
The Herzliya Vocal Ensemble, under the baton of Ava Jaffe, will now sing the moving rendition of Herz sich zu, We Will Remember You, written by Zola Schumann. This will be followed by Benji Anstey, who will sing Oifen Pipachik, accompanied by Gabriel Seif on the piano. This song, about a rabbi teaching his young students the Aleph Bet, was very popular and a major musical memory of pre-Holocaust Europe.
Wie es klappt in unserem Herzen, mit Rhythm von euer Leben, herzlich zu. Wir seien euer Kinder, wir singen euer Lieder, zu dem Eid, wir seien da. We are here because of you. We'll tell your story, live your dreams, and sing your song. With courage, faith, and hope, the voices proud and strong. The world will know your life, your love, your legacy lives on. Herzlich zu, we will remember you. You're with us everywhere we go. We hold you safely in our hearts. Share with future generations all the lessons of your past, all your suffering and losses, all the pain that you went through will never be forgotten. Herzlich zu. We'll tell your story, live your dreams, and sing your song. With courage, faith, and hope, with voices proud and strong. The world will know your life, your love, your legacy lives on. Herzlich zu, we will remember you. We have pride in all our tears and sadness of your darkest years, but the joy in your survival gives us life. Wir werden ein Himmel nicht vergessen, wir werden ein ständig gedenken, euch reden will wir singen zu dir ein. We'll tell your story, live your dreams, and sing your song. With courage, faith, and hope, with voices proud and strong. The world will know your life, your love, your legacy lives on. Herzlich zu, we will remember you. Herzlich zu, we will remember.
Oifen Pripyatchik brennt a fire und in Stebes Haus. Und der Rebbe lernt kleine Kinder nach dem Aleph Bes. Solche Kinder nach gedenkt Teiere, wo sie leben da. Sagt nach amol und Tage noch amol, komm ins Aleph on. Sagt noch amol und Tage noch amol, komm ins Aleph on. Sagt noch amol und Tage noch amol, komm ins Aleph on.
In Deuteronomy 4:9, we are told to guard ourselves carefully, lest we forget the things our eyes saw, and lest these things depart from our hearts all the days of our lives. It adds that you shall make them known to your children and to your children's children. This is what the Cape South African Jewish Board of Deputies does each year in honor of the people who were killed in the Holocaust. And thanks to our youth, as you have watched this evening, that memory is being guarded and carried forward.